My name is Jim Medzigian, and I am currently president of the Renton Community Foundation for calendar year 2011.
And I'm Lynn Bohart, executive director of the Renton Community Foundation. Community foundations are different than other nonprofit foundations in that we take a collection of community or charitable funds that are established by individuals and other nonprofits in the community, and we manage those funds on behalf of the entire community. For instance, we don't have a warehouse somewhere where we collect food and then provide that food for the homeless, or we don't provide concerts in the park. We make grants from these funds back to the community for a broad array of community needs. It could be health care, education, even pet care. One of the Renton Community Foundation's most active funds is the Budkus Fund, and from that fund we provide money throughout the Puget Sound area for seniors that are facing emergency veterinary bills, and they might be faced with losing the only companion they have in the world, and we're able to step in and help them through that. So even though we don't provide the direct service, we support the organizations of the community that do, and we make a tremendous difference because of it.
Lynn, I think it's important that we mention the Sam Chastain Fund. That's where, from one of our funds, we give money to the city of Renton so low-income families can take advantage of classes and summer camps. It's a great fund.
And the Sam Chastain Fund, it's really nice because Sam was longtime director for the City Parks Department here in Renton, and when he passed away, his wife established the fund in his memory, and so every year we give donations to the City Parks Department to help the children and families who wouldn't otherwise be able to take advantage of some of those programs. And so it's a really feel-good kind of program, and it's in memory of a great guy. A community foundation is actually a collection of charitable funds that are established by individuals or other nonprofit agencies, and then we pool that money and we invest it and manage it for growth and stability. And then we make grants back to the community to benefit a broad array of community needs. Some people ask us why would they give a community foundation a donation instead of just giving it directly to the organization that they have supported all along? And I guess I would say to that donors can and should give donations directly to the organizations they believe in. But in reality, there are many people in our communities who will donate thousands of dollars every year and feel that they haven't made an impact in the community. And so if that's the case, and they have the wherewithal to establish a fund, I really would encourage them to talk to one of the 20+ community foundations here in Washington State about establishing a fund. It's easy, it's fast. Most of the community foundations will establish a fund for as little as $5,000 to $10,000. We operate locally, so we're familiar with what's going on in the community. We can help donors achieve their charitable dream. And the donors can even retain the right to recommend where those grants go. And I'd use the example of State Representative Marcy Maxwell, who has a fund with us. In fact, she's one of our founding board members. And she just recently requested a grant of over $10,000 to help support bringing in a nationally acclaimed speaker on education, which is one of her real passions. And that person will come into the IKEA Performing Arts Center here in Renton and be available to hundreds of people that will be able to take advantage of what he has to say.
We work very hard at the Renton Community Foundation to be certain that we don't champion one cause over another. We work on behalf of the entire community. We try and level the playing field, and the old saying goes, the rising tide lifts all boats, and we try to provide the rising tide.
As an example of how we're tied into the local community, we work very closely with the Renton School District. In fact, the superintendent sits on our board. And we give money every year through both Circle of Giving and one of our funds, the O.J. Harper Engineering Children's Needs Fund. It's a long title, but we give money to the school specifically to address needs within individual classrooms. And an example of that would be that we've given money to a couple of the high school classrooms for math calculators. And the money then purchases the calculators for low-income students who can't afford to buy one, and they can take it on loan. And I can tell you that because my own daughter, we had to buy one. These things run $70 or $80. That's what they start at. They're very expensive, and yet today the classrooms are requiring them. When I went to school, my calculator consisted of a piece of paper and a pencil. And so we feel we're making a real difference in helping some of these students meet the scholastic needs of the classroom and not be different than the other students.
Quite often we're asked, how large is the Renton Community Foundation and what do we do with our funds? We currently have over 40 individual funds, and they total to slightly over $6 million. We take those funds and we invest some with professionals. Our money is placed with the Harris Private Bank, a Seattle firm, and our goal is to not necessarily beat the market, but to retain our principal and to grow. So as a result of that, we have about 60% of our funds are in equities, 35% in fixed income, and 5% in cash. That is a conservative portfolio, and what we found during the recent recession, other large funds like ours lost 35% of their value or more in some cases, and our fund only dropped 19% because we were conservative. At the Renton Community Foundation, we try really hard to keep our administrative costs very low, and we do accomplish that goal. Currently, we charge between 1% and 3% an annual fee to the funds that we manage.
You know, we're often asked what services we provide to the community since we don't provide a direct service. And community foundations not only manage the charitable contributions, but in our case, in the Renton Community Foundation's case, we believe we help to solve problems. We were recently, about a year and a half ago, we were asked by a group of concerned citizens that had come together in collaboration with the city to create the first off-leash dog park in town. And they started raising money. They were having tremendous success with that, but donors were asking for a tax deduction. And they had not become a 501c3 nonprofit yet and didn't really want to. And so they came to us and asked us if they could come in under our tax umbrella, which we did allow them to do. They established a fund within the Community Foundation. And they were so successful, frankly, in getting in-kind donations. There are a lot of people in this community that love their dogs, that they actually ended up with about $17,000 to $20,000 left over in their fund. And so now that money is being used for ongoing maintenance at the park. And probably, I guess it was at least once or twice, we have made grants to them. They are called Renton's Unleashed Furry Friends, or RUF. We've made grants for what they call mutt mitts, so that when people use the dog park, they can keep the dog park clean. And we're very, very happy to have them as part of the Renton Community Foundation. They're providing a wonderful service for the community and for people who love their dogs. Even though the goal of the Renton Community Foundation is to find individuals who have the wherewithal and the desire to set up individual charitable funds, we also do accept small donations to those funds. And many people in the community want to give what we call tribute gifts. These are gifts in memory or in honor of somebody. And they can go to our website, and we've actually designed notifications, colorful certificates almost, that they can print out. They make the donation to us, they print out the certificate, and then they can mail that to the person who they're giving the gift in honor of, which is really nice. You know, frankly, everybody already has enough blenders and crock pots, and so we often get nice notes from people that are very appreciative that a gift has been made in their honor to the Butkus Fund or the Sam Chastain Fund, or making bequests to nonprofit organizations. And it's something that we encourage people to think about when they're reviewing their wills or creating their wills. Bequests can make a tremendous difference to a nonprofit organization because it's something that we call planned giving. It's when a donor actually plans in advance to make the gift, and the gift is coming out of their assets as opposed to their current income. And so when they plan for it and they put an organization into their will, the money can either come as a percentage of what's in the will, they can put in a specific dollar amount, or it can be a remainder of whatever's left over in the will. But the reality is that most times it will be a larger gift than if they had just written a check when the organization asked.
Lynn, could you talk a little more about some specific funds such as the Jeremy Gidlin Scholarship Fund and the Joy Poff Fund for Education and Families?
Well, you know, one of the hallmarks of a community foundation is that community foundations can really help make people's charitable dreams come true. And people really do have charitable dreams. They want to make a difference in the community. And one person may believe strongly in one area while another person has a passion for a different area. And a community foundation can work with both of them. So the Jeremy Gidlin Fund is a perfect example of that. Jeremy was a young student at Lindbergh High School, a special needs student who graduated and went to Renton Technical College in the auto repair program and was killed in a street racing accident a few years ago. His mother, who received a number of donations in his memory, took that money and created a fund here within the Renton Community Foundation. And she wanted it specifically for special needs students because that's what Jeremy was. And she knew, she happens to work in the school district, that there are a lot of students like him that don't feel they have an opportunity to go to college, or they find it too difficult to apply for scholarships, or that they would never get a scholarship. And she wanted them to have a resource. So it was something that she was passionate about, and we were able to help her with that. The Joy Poff Fund, Joy was a long-time elected school board member here in Renton and worked at the school district for many years. And when she retired recently, her husband surprised her with a fund in her name, the Joy Poff Fund for Education and Families, because that's what her passion is. And I would actually use the Randy Rockhill Fund as a final example. Randy was the longtime band leader here, or band instructor, I guess, at the Renton High School for about 30 years. And just before he died, he called me and asked me if I would come up to his home. And he wanted to establish a fund, which he named another long title, the Randall Rockhill Student Instrumental Music Fund. But the goal was very simple, frankly, and that was to help low-income students in the school district who wanted to participate in the music program but maybe didn't have the money to either buy an instrument or rent the instrument or repair the instrument, or maybe they wanted to go to band camp and they didn't have the money. And Randy had come across many of those students during his time at the school district, and he wanted to see that they had an opportunity that maybe some of his other kids didn't have. And we were able to create that fund, and that fund actually has grown since his death, so hopefully it will go on forever. Because the Renton Community Foundation doesn't have a discretionary fund at this point in time, when the foundation was first founded, we wanted to be giving money away but didn't have any. And so Gary Colbus, our president at the time, came up with the idea of Circle of Giving, where we would go out and actually raise the money and then give it back to the community in the form of grants. In 10, 11 years, we've given out over $300,000 through this program. And about a year and a half ago, a couple people came to us, younger people in the community, and said they would like to be involved in Circle of Giving, but Circle of Giving is a $1,000 donation, and they couldn't afford a $1,000 donation, so how could they become involved? And so we sat down with them and did some brainstorming, and we came up with the idea of a different giving circle for younger professionals in the community, and therefore the Next Curve was born. And we brought Ed Prince and Megan Prince on board with a whole group of young, energetic people that have just launched this new idea in Renton.
My name is Ed Prince, and I am the 2011 president for the Next Curve.
So how did you come up with the Next Curve as a name?
Well, you know, it's really interesting. We went through various different iterations of names before we came up with the Next Curve. I think we, at one point, were the League of Extraordinary Active Donors, and then we stopped and we said, what name can we use that would be uniquely Renton? And we thought about the fact that the Renton City motto is ahead of the curve. And we thought, well, why not be the Next Curve? The next generations of donors and givers and doers in the city of Renton. Becoming a member is very easy. Really, all you have to do is come to one of our meetings, say that you're interested, and then we have two ways for you to donate. What we ask people to do is a $250 gift. You can write a check that night, or you can go online to the Renton Community Foundation's website. Our website, thenextcurve.org, has a link to the Community Foundation's website, and you can set up payment there. You can either do the $250 all at once, or you can break it out into whatever style payment, monthly or quarterly, that you'd like to do.
So tell us about the meetings.
You know, we have two very different types of meetings, and we did this because we wanted to gear this towards people who hadn't been involved before. And so what we decided to do is that 1 month we'd have a social meeting, like a meetup, maybe in a local business where people can get to know each other. And our other meetings on the opposite months are educational meetings. We've had various established community leaders come in and talk to us on the importance of community involvement. We always feature at least 2 nonprofits at our meetings so that they can let people know what their needs are and what they bring to the community. And we have a really good time. Last year we had about 34 members, and we gave out approximately $6,200. We gave grants to a variety of different nonprofits: Birthday Dreams, the Evergreen City Ballet, Renton Area Youth and Family Services, also known as RAISE, the Renton Clothes Bank, the Renton History Museum, the Renton Rotary Salvation Army Food Bank, Way Back In, and the WSU Food Sense Exchange Program. And really our philosophy behind that was we wanted to support arts and culture, but we also wanted to support basic needs. In this economy, basic needs, you find more and more people who've never really had to go to a food bank or go to a clothes bank, and those organizations are being stretched to the max. So we really wanted to have a emphasis on basic needs while also making sure that we supported arts and culture as well.
Well, I wanted to explain a little bit about the similarity and dissimilarities between the Circle of Giving and the Next Curve. The Circle of Giving is very unique in that we go out and ask donors to donate $1,000 at a pop, and then those donors are invited in to a meeting at the end of the year where they actually recommend where the money goes. And as I said, we've given out over $300,000 in 11 years. Typically on an annual basis, it's between $30,000 and $40,000. The Next Curve is just wonderfully unique in that these are younger, up-and-coming professionals in the community because they're more tech-savvy. They will communicate more on Facebook and through Twitter. They have the social meetups where our Circle of Giving donors meet once a year, and then they don't see each other again for another 12 months. The Next Curve is meant to be a group that gets to know each other, gets to socialize with each other and learn about the community. And then one of their goals is that they hope to have many of their members actually join some of the nonprofit boards in the area. So we really call this the next generation of community leaders. I will say that when I first moved here 5 years ago, one of the things I heard over and over from our local nonprofit organizations was that they kept getting the same donors and the same board members. It was the same people donating and volunteering over and over again. And frankly, some of our board members are getting older and starting to fade out of the picture. And so the next curve is a great way to get new people involved and the younger generation who frankly have a tremendous amount to offer.
Lynn makes a great point, and one of the things that we always say when we're talking to folks is we're really truly trying to build the next generation of philanthropy in Renton. I have, and I know our board as well have, a strong belief that giving is something that when it's practiced, it becomes part of your life. And not just financial giving, but also giving of your time. The more you get in the habit of doing it, the more likely you are to do it. And that was really one of our big goals for Next Curve, along with trying to, just build the next next generation of community leaders through education, letting them learn about what's going on in the community. We want to teach them how to become active and engaged board members. Some of our folks have never served on boards before. And so we really want to take them and throughout the year give them a huge slice of what community life in Renton is. And also introduce them to some nonprofits that they may not have heard of, and some that they have heard of. And if there are opportunities where they're willing to serve, that they're able to step into those roles and serve.
Circle of Giving has grown tremendously over the years. When we first started it 11 years ago, we gave out, I think it was $11,000. We've given as much as $44,000 out. And each year we do an award ceremony where we actually hand the checks out to the receiving organizations. And again, in the beginning, maybe 20 people showed up. This last year we had close to 200 people join us at the Renton Senior Activity Center for a really exciting and fun event. And this was the first year that we had the Next Curve with us when they gave out their $6,250, and people were very excited. Not only because everybody was getting money, but because we had launched this new effort in town to bring new people into the field of charitable giving. And I think people were very excited about it.
With regard to the Circle of Giving, I'd like to add a piece to that. That process is really on a fast track. The money is collected over a 2-month time period at the most, and then a month later, the money is channeled out into the community, and it goes to work right away. The whole process from beginning to end is 3 months or less.
We have big goals in mind. We manage $6 million now, but the goal is to double or triple that. When we think about the future and the types of resources that our communities are going to need, if we had $20, $30, $40 million under management, we dream about the kinds of things that we could be doing in this community, the kinds of problems that that money could address. And so we work very hard to find new donors who might like to establish funds, donors who want to contribute to the funds that we already have, and truly make a difference in this community. I think as we saw in this most current recession, as people's dollars, their spendable dollars went down, people lost their jobs, their 401ks went down, people stopped giving money to their favorite charities. Charitable donations went down. And yet the reality is that for most of our nonprofits in town, the request for services doubled and tripled. There are more people going to the food banks, there are more people that are homeless that need a place to stay, and yet the resources were dwindling. Well, the reality is that in the future that's going to happen again. I think the need for charitable giving is only going to grow, and so our goal here at the Renton Community Foundation is to grow the number of donors, the number of people that care about their community, not just now but in the future, and will help us meet those needs.